It's happy Valentine's Day. It's Love Heart Day. Episode 167. It's the 14th of February. Don't know how many are going to join tonight because it's they'll be out doing like romantic dinners. But we're here because it's Chocky Chat. Mrs. So Sassy's here. So hello everybody. Very strange. I've got a delay on the screen, so when I'm talking, it just looks like it's just very, very, very weird. Don't know what's going on there, but anyway. Hello, it's Friday, it's Chocky Chat. How is everybody? Happy Valentine's. Happy Love Heart Day, as somebody said to me today. Temper, Chocs by Loney. Hello, how are you? Bomb on Nutgrun, I think, is in the Netherlands. I am really good. Billy there's got his chocolates. How are you, mate? Some amazing chocolates being posted this week. It's been the week of love. It's all love hearts, it's all pinks, it's all reds, it's all but some absolutely stunningly amazing stuff this week. So Tony Margaretti there, good friend of mine, fantastic chocolatier. If you haven't seen Tony's work, go and have a look, because he takes chocolate to a very, very different level, right? Really intricate details. Absolutely love it. And he uses our colours as well, so always good. Daniela, I'm good, thank you. Another favourite chocolatier of mine, Melissa, over there in the US. Right, Mrs. So Sassy saying Happy Valentine's, everybody. She didn't say Happy Valentine's to me. Not really. Kelly Wessel Chocolates, I'm good, thank you. House of Desserts, I think, is in Innsbruck. Hello. Another really good chocolatier. Did it pause? It didn't pause? I have no idea. We got a good connection, so very strange. Chocolate Sauce 3, hello and thank you for a super fast delivery. You're absolutely welcome. Deliveries in the UK seem to be really swift. The USA, there seems to be a delay, and I'm going to say it goes back to about like third week of January. It just seems to have all been delayed, and I can't explain why, because there's a couple of orders that have gone out to the US that get there really quickly. So if you're waiting on a parcel, my apologies, well beyond our control. No reason for it. None that I can think of anyway, so nothing should have changed, even if there was a transition between one leading party to another. So Ariana, now need to practice. We're always practicing. Every time you make chocolates, you are practicing. Every single. Finally, I'm a professional chocolatier. Every time you make chocolate, you're practicing. Any art or craft or skill, every time you work. I can't hear you. Okay. I am on my mobile. It will cut everything out, I think. I'll give it a go. It's reconnecting. It's on the internet. I don't know why the internet's a bit slow. How bizarre. Where did we get to? Mo the Baker's there. Hi Mo. Alice Goble Chocolates. Alice, they were really nice red bonbons that you posted earlier. Stunning. Leanne there, I can see. It's Emily. I know that's Emily's sister. Ariana. I know this. Who else have we got? Lots of happy Valentines. Yeah. Happy Valentines to Mrs. So Sassy. All the chocolatiers are clearly home tonight, aren't they? Looking at the numbers, so. Gina there down in Australia. Hope everybody had a good time. I hope everybody got good sales, right? I hope everybody got good sales this year, right? It's been challenging. It has been challenging. Paula there, hey Chocky Chat crew. What's the trophy? I won something. I won Employee of the Year. I showed you that last week. Employee of the Year. Good friend of mine, Ants Edema. He owns Anime Patisserie. He's in Estonia. He sent that over. I guess I mentioned it at some point in a post and said another year gone by, I didn't win Employee of the Year. Not that it's for Mrs. So Sassy, it's not for me. He sent us some lovely chocolates, which we devoured. Really nice. I think I got one chocolate, right, Sophia? And I got that trophy, and it's lovely. You know, put up a part. You know, the postman comes and he's like, "I've got something for you." And it's like, I didn't order anything. And you see Estonia, it's like, I wonder what that is. And it just said a cup and chocolates. I opened it up as a trophy. So yeah, happy days. Love Chocky Chat crew, right? Love surprises, love trying new chocolates, love trying people's work. And even I look at some of the fillings and go, God, I wish I'd made that, or I wish I'd thought of that, or I wish I'd done that one. So I'm being stalked.
Hello everybody, how are you today? Oh, there's a question there.
A question.
From a blind chocolatier.
Question, want to make malt, milk chocolate, milk caramel. Can I just add some malt powder to the already made caramel? Yes, you can. Add it to, Stuart, add the malt powder to the cream. But just don't do too much because it tends to thicken it a little bit and it holds onto it. You'll need to do kind of quarter the amount of extra cream. So if you had 1,000 grams, I do 1,250 and then add the malt powder, but kind of round about that kind of 75 gram mark, and then deglaze the sugar and make the caramel that way. Alternatively, if you did half the amount of the malt powder, if you did a caramelized milk chocolate and add it to it, not like the Gold, but a caramelized milk chocolate, that would just kind of balance things out a little bit, right? So the malt powders tend to be quite sweet, right? Or they'll have sweeteners in them. So Temptation Chocolate's there. You come and say hello. You say happy Valentine's, everybody.
Happy Valentine's, everybody. How's your Friday going?
Temptation Chocolates, they are in Southern Ireland. I have to remember where everybody is. No, I don't have to remember where everybody is. I choose to remember where everybody is.
Did everyone see the trophy yet? I saw in the live that you showed.
Yeah.
Well done.
Happy Valentine's. Chocolate Spicy. Chocolate Spicy posted some really nice chocolates this week. Really, really nice. It's been a busy week this week. We had the website on hold, the new website on hold, and then we've restarted that. So I'm hoping that we're going to finalise that this week. What else are we doing? Lots of colours. Sophia has finally. We get one of them out.
I think we can.
Sophia has finally finished
You better not eat one.
I'm not going to eat any of them. I had
Let's
half.
hope not.
I had half a chocolate.
Oh yeah.
I was tasting them from. I had
You
more than
did.
one.
I had more than one as well. So
No, I
can't say
tasted
anything.
one. I accidentally ate a few more.
Yeah, I only had two.
But it's the rules, right? The laws are that what's mine is mine and what's yours is also mine, right? You're gonna cancel everybody out. Congrats. What else are we saying? We're gonna say somewhere. His chocolate was stunning. Ants Edema. It's Anime Confiserie. They're based in Estonia, in Tartu, and absolutely stunning. Just such a lovely collection of chocolates, and
I don't know what
super bold flavours. Like nothing.
I love the coffee caramel.
Yeah, the coffee caramel.
That was nice.
Just, do you know when you eat out a collection and they're just so well balanced. And it's odd because we try a lot of chocolates, don't we? We always look at all these chocolates and we're like, God, so much better than what I make.
The best job of being a daughter of a chocolatier is taste testing the chocolate. So I just really want to say thank you.
Or just eating the stock.
Yeah, fair enough. But the most interesting part is get to see all the designs and then only for your dad to start eating them.
Yeah. No, you were bringing me bits in, having a taste of that, and I just ate the whole one.
Yeah, that was...
Because there's a difference between eating and tasting, right? So,
not in your dictionary.
So here's a question. How can I let the bonbons release easily from the mould? If you've tempered the chocolate properly, so it's got an abundance of beta crystals in it, when that mould with the chocolate in drops in temperature, so once that drops below 14 degrees, technically it's 13.6, right? Once it drops below that, what happens with chocolate, if it's fully bound with beta crystals and you shell at the right temperature, they will shrink. We call it retraction, but actually what happens is it shrinks so that it actually comes out of the mould, and it should leave the mould very, very clean. It should all shrink in one go, including that layer of colour. If your bonbons aren't releasing from the mould, it will be to do with the tempering. You can polish moulds all you want. That is not where the shine comes from, and it's not why the chocolates release. It's to do with the temperature that you shell at, making sure that your chocolate's fully kind of loaded with beta crystals. And then we go through this dry phase, 5-6 minutes. So once you've shelled and you've tapped everything out, we go through this dry phase, and then we would look to put those just into a cooler area, not freezing cold, not 6 degrees. We'll put them into a fridge at 10, 12 degrees, 1 or 2 minutes, and in that time they will all shrink. Very often you can hear it. I think there's lots of chocolatiers will understand what I say. You know, when you hear that creak and crack, and you can hear it through the fridge door of all the shells like shrinking, right? That's what that is. So if your shells aren't fully retracting, if they're not fully shrinking, it'll be to do with the tempering, right? So Mo Baker, I was watching Sophia work earlier in the week. She worked pretty hard this week.
Oh, she did.
She had to get all her schoolwork done. We had a very late night last night. I think we were doing crackouts last night.
Was it last night?
It was about 11 o'clock last night. And then she had to get all these. She should do all schoolwork today, do gymnastics, do all the other stuff. Same as her. Salma's. We're going to do some chocolates this week coming.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
So we're going to do truffles. Bakes and makes. I was making salt caramel for filling, heated the cream, but still got some hard caramel left. Balance, right? Balance the temperature. So I would warm the cream up. So I get the cream to boiling point. And the reason we're going to heat it that high is if we've got dry caramel that's been heated to 180. If we pour warm cream in there, it will just shock, and you'll end up with this giant ball of spikes that looks a bit like a kind of coronavirus, but basically they are just shards of caramel that have come off that haven't fully dissolved. If we get that dry caramel, and just before we add the cream, if we give that cream a really good heat up and bring it back to boiling point, what you want to do is add it slowly so that we are not shocking the caramel. If you put too much cream into the caramel, it's likely that it will just explode over the top of the pan. But initially, you just want to drip it in. And you want to drip it in and stir it and let all those bubbles come to the top and all the water vapour that comes off. Be very, very careful. It's the most dangerous thing I've ever come across in a kitchen, caramel. You get the little spikes and you get the little shards when you add too much cream and it cools down too quickly. And what's happening is that the caramel, when it gets mixed into the cream, kind of creates an emulsion. If you add too much cream in one go, you get pieces of caramel that don't fully dissolve into that water that's left. So maybe you have to go balance on and off the heat, right? So as you're put the dry caramel down to a low heat, put some of the cream in, and then maybe just bring the heat up just to keep that bubbling and boiling until all the cream's gone in. You'll find it all emulsified quite well. So the other thing is that, like with caramels, I truly believe like the best recipe ever is to do equal amounts of sugar to cream. If you haven't got enough cream, what happens is it just gets too thick and it's too gloopy, and when it starts boiling, it just starts spitting over, and you get it on your hands and get it everywhere. So I want to make it so next time I'll attend in Bahrain. Yeah, we got another class in Bahrain. Probably will be kind of later on this year, possibly. We're looking at Kuwait. We're looking at Saudi as well. We're looking at other areas to do classes. So am I saying I'm willing to taste all the bonbons on Chocky Chat Crew? I didn't say that, but challenge accepted. We love getting chocolates.
I love getting
Everybody
chocolates.
loves getting gifts. I'm going to be really careful how I say this. We started Chocky Chat because I prefer community over competition, and I liked helping people, and we make an incredible product, and I think that we should be helping people. The loyalty in the Chocky Chat came from people who use the products. I don't mind saying here on a Friday night. It's absolutely my pleasure. I think what a lot of people forget is I'm also part Chocky Chat Crew. The girls and Rania are also part of Chocky Chat Crew. And people forget that we go in there. I asked the question this week, although I misspelt it, but I'm looking for the date mould. I think I said snaped. I wanted the date snaped. I want the date shaped mould. And I instantly got the answers I was looking for without the stupid rubbish answers you get on other forums, right? Would I be willing to try? Yeah, I love receiving chocolates. I love seeing what other people do. I love looking at the pictures, particularly of Chocky Chat. I love looking at the stuff that people do around the globe. I love the idea that we've been maybe just a tiny little bit of the help. I certainly get lots and lots of questions during the week. I mean, there's been dozens today with this happened with the bonbons, this happened with the bonbons, and like if I can answer and it's not a lesson, I'll answer really quickly as best as I can, right? So yeah, challenge accepted. If you want to send stuff, I'm not going to say no. I don't expect trophies, but I love tasting other people's chocolates. Please though, if you do send something, no alcohol, no gelatine, no alcohol, right? What are you writing down on there? You write, oh, Salma's writing the questions. Here we go, Chocky Chat crew.
Hello.
Salma is writing the questions so that when I get to the end, I can write down what we talked about so that people can then go back and find it, right? And it's been quite crucial, that.
Yeah,
You're
it's
a
very
superstar.
easy as well for you guys.
Yeah, it's easier for you to come back and find it, and then eventually I will get myself organised and we'll get them all loaded back up onto YouTube, right?
Yeah.
We've got a bit to do this week. We've got some website stuff to finish, and I'm hoping that's going to go live. And it's very, very different website. The way that you can search for things, you can search for all the blues, or all the reds, or all the greens, or you can search for sparkle, or you can search for titanium free. You can search. The search ability within it is absolutely incredible. So we've done a huge amount of work, including like all the icons to match up with real-time pictures, and it's smart, right? It's a really, really smart website, but it's taken a lot of time to get there, and we had to pause it for a little bit, and then we're back on that now. So I'm hoping that's going to launch. We'll certainly do all the testing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On top of we've got hands-on classes, we've got other classes, we've got lots going on, and then I need to make cricket balls.
We do online classes as well.
We've got online ones as well,
ones.
the airbrush ones, and I've got cricket balls, so it doesn't stop. And it feels like 3 days since we were last sat here.
We were
Anybody
talking about
else?
that in the car.
Does anybody else feel like the last Chocky Chat was 3 days ago? Because I have no idea where every week's going. It's not good when every week just it's gone by, right?
Really fast.
Yeah, so bakes and makes, as I said, just add the cream slower and keep the heat up, right? So the other thing that I do is I always sieve caramels, because you get a bit stuck in the whisk, you get a bit, you know, if you don't boil it up, if the cream is particularly watery when you get to winter. Cream's generally got a higher water content in winter than it does. There's much more fat in it during the spring, summer months. It's to do with the grass, and you look at the two. I always put caramel through a sieve, and it does a couple of things. One, it will filter, so screening out any lumps, bumps, bits that shouldn't be in there. That's always a good practice when it comes to food safety. So through a sieve, through a strainer, we call it screening, but we do the same thing when we make the colours. Everything gets put through a micron sieve. The other thing it does is if you put caramel through there, it gets rid of all the air bubbles, because caramel is notorious. You know, when it bubbles up and you add the cream, that's all air bubbles, right? And if you don't get those out, that caramel needs to settle for a long, long time before you get those air bubbles to dissipate. So putting it through a sieve just speeds that up, right, massively. So struggling with the airbrush. Airbrushes. This is. Oh, a couple of tricks, right? This it's such a foreign way, like physically you're just kind of not used to doing this. Okay, I've been playing with these for quite a few years, more than I'd yes, probably 40. It's getting on for 35 years, 40 years possibly. So maybe I'm used to it, like just with this trigger control now. What I would say though is if you get a sponge, you get a sponge and you cut a big chunk off, right? And then what I'll do sometimes is we'll cut a big chunk off a sponge. We'll cut a chunk off like that. I'll cut it in half. I don't glue it on, but what I will do is hold that on top of the trigger, because it stops you. It makes it you've got a bit more feel for what's going on, whether you're coming back and forth. And if that's not right, put another sponge so it's a little bit higher up. And trust me, if that trigger could come another half centimetre up, your finger would be curved, and coming back and forth is a lot easier. The fact that it's so low down and your finger has to be flat is what causes everybody the problem, right? So we just stick a couple of pieces of sponge on top just to raise it up. Certainly for students, when I'm teaching hands-on, particularly for the ladies with smaller hands, they just can't hold on to it. But I try and balance it like you would, as you would hold a pen, right? Is just move that backwards, okay? And I let it sit on that finger. So it balances on that finger, and I use that one. So, but like a sponge on top, you stick it to a glove, or I dare say just a little bit of sticky tape on there, just on top of the trigger. But the higher your finger is up, the more bend you get in your finger, and it's a lot easier to go back and forth. Right? I know a lot of people. Now, I think the other thing is the white knuckle. Right? I've had students here. I'm not going to mention any names. I've had students here, and they're like gritting their teeth, and they're like, you can. It's like just not so harsh. Just have to press down lightly. But what I do find is that, you know, like chocolatiers, as they get further into it, like they're really pushing down on it, and it's like they're shaking. And they're giving the poor thing a white knuckle ride. It's gentle. One gentle press and you pull backwards. Like, but people are really, really giving it. And all you'll get is a repetitive strain injury, and your fingers will get tired, and then you just start spraying. Like, you don't end up pulling the trigger all the way back. And practice. You go come say hello.
Hello.
What are you going to tell us tonight? I like Dad's chocolate. Did you like the chocolates we got this week?
Yeah.
And do you like the trophy that we got this week?
Thank you so much, as well as your chocolate.
They were
That is mind-blowing.
Absolutely.
Mind-blowing
Favourite one is
taste.
the almonds.
The almond
My
praline.
one was the white
Oh,
love heart.
The white
Yeah, that
love
was
heart.
I don't know.
Mine was the red
No,
love heart.
I
I
don't
love
know.
We
that.
are chocolate lovers, aren't we?
Yes, we
I'm
are
a chocoholic.
Chat. We are Chocky Chat crew,
I
and
am
we
a
are
choco-
chocolate. We are so
We are
sassy crew.
chocoholics.
We're Chocky Chat crew, and we love chocolate.
We do love.
Enough said. Mic dropped. I was going to say for shizzle my nizzle, but I won't.
Honestly, guys, by the way, if you buy my dad's cocoa butters, you'll maybe get a cake for 50% off.
A cake? I don't do cakes.
No.
I don't have time for cakes.
I'll make a cake and I'll
You're going to
send
make
it
cakes?
If you buy
Seren, there's 500-600 orders a week,
If-
sweetheart. How many cakes are you going to make?
Guys, if you get an order of cocoa
We'll
butter,
let Seren talk. Go on. Don't
you
start
will
giving
get
things away.
50% off of my cakeys. It's
Wow. Do you know how many? Do you know how many emails I'm going to get now saying you didn't honour
cupcakes and cakes.
cupcakes and cake? And when are you going to make this?
I don't know.
Are you going to make them?
No, I'm
You
not
said
going to
you're
make
not going to
them.
make them.
I'm
You're
gonna
just trying to
make
do a
them.
fake sales incentive.
No,
We
I'm
can't
gonna
promise
make them.
things.
I'm gonna make them.
Chocky chat rules. You can't promise something and not deliver.
I will.
Yeah,
No,
you can't do
integrity is everything.
that. Yeah,
You can make me. You can make me cakes though.
No thanks. I'm
even I
okay.
would like that.
Okay.
I know how to make cake. Do I? No.
The cart is the cart that was posted. Paula has. I can't remember the brand now. Pretty straightforward to manufacture something like that for yourself. I think if you're in a small space, having a cart to move things around, absolutely brilliant idea. And it's good when they're upside down, and it's also good when they're filled and they're just cooling. We used to have floor-mounted fridges, so when you opened the door, it was at floor level, so that you could just wheel trolleys in and out. Some of the patisserie shops I've been in, so trolleys, what do they call them? Dollies in the US, but trolleys, stand-up trolleys, yeah, great idea. Small footprint, tall, get lots of stuff in there. I've got one behind me here, a little trolley there, and it carries all the little bits and pieces, and we pull that round and we take it to where we're working. When I have students, we can just pull it out to the side and pull all the drawers out, and everything's available, right? Just keeps everything neat and tidy. So always good. Rania said, I have to be the chocolate, please. I thought there weren't any chocolate, please. Has Rania just admitted that she's the chocolate? Everybody in Chocky Chat, I think I know who the chocolate police are. Rania's just admitted to being, or is it the bonbon police? Jason, how are you, mate? Nettie, I'm really good, thank you. Dunosh Bakery, hello. Chocky chat crew potluck. Everyone bring their chockies and we can all pick out. Happy days. That sounds like a good night out. Ariana, yes, of course I can do that. The new Ramadan bar, yes please. I don't mind buying things, truly. Coco Wilds, good luck with Valentine's, everybody. I think from what people have been saying, it's quite good sales this year for a lot of people. Really good sales, actually better than expected, right? So, I'm trying to make a batch to send Emily Rose's. Said she promised the chocolate. She did message me saying, like, can I send you some chocolate? That was a while ago. Oh no, that's not good. Can we search by yes, so on the new website you can search by A, B, C, D. You'll be able to search titanium free or titanium, or just the search parameters. Much better. Squarespace is good and it got us going, but like very clearly we got to a point where it just couldn't do some of the things that we needed it to do. I think that Squarespace is a good start point. We can move over to WooCommerce, but we've had the website actually built for us separately. It's not something we've done ourselves, and it's been a lot of work, a huge amount of work. I've not hugely been involved other than putting my 2 pence worth in. It's all been Rania's work, Mrs. So Sassy. Our roles are clearly defined, so I will do classes, people and product, and Rania does translating, she does the accounting, she does the administration, she does the 80% of the stuff that I get to do, the 20%, right? So she has a huge basket and workload of things that she does on the side, that she keeps everything going. And the new website, I think, will help her when it comes to invoicing, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to VAT. Squarespace, as I said, it kind of gets you so far, but then you realise you like it to do this and it won't. You'd like to get a third party to design something so you can make it just a little bit more personal to you, and it doesn't allow that. So, and I think more than anything, I think the costs on Squarespace are staggeringly high, particularly when you're only allowed to bolt Stripe to it, which is not the friendliest payment provider in terms of percentage. So, you know, for everybody that's running a business, as it gets a little bit busier and the revenues get higher, you start looking at some of those percentages, because whilst the percentage doesn't change, when you get up into the many thousands, you start looking at that figure and like, wow, that's somebody's wage, right? Or you know, that's a huge profit chunk. So I see now why people you start in one place, and then as you get busier and bigger, you have to make those decisions. I think as a business, we have to make those right decisions to say, right, well, now we need to be able to do something else. Now our customers demand this. Now they will be able to search. We ship to so many countries. There are languages, there's translations, and I think that we found a kind of platform that will allow us to tick the box for the customer, right? Because it's not about it being easy for me to use, it's about for you being able to select and pick the products that you like. I think the other thing is that, like, the websites it really is only the porthole where people go in and pay, right? So I think you see the colours on my page, you see the colours that other people are using. I certainly get sent lots of pictures saying, what colour's this? I then have to go back to the person that made them and say, can I ask? Or I say to that person, why don't you go and ask the person that made them, because they'll probably be quite honest with you. So, and they'll tell you what colour they use. So I am hoping that we will do the test runs of that kind of Tuesday, Wednesday next week, and I hope we're able to launch next week at some point. So it does fly, it just fly every week, just flies by. I don't know why. So Sam was still writing notes. Leanne, yeah, well, I'll schedule that one with you. If you're back now, we'll sort that one out. We'll get you spraying in the right direction. So How do you make a clear red colour when in the inside is chocolate? Don't understand that. You'd spray a colour and then shell. If you want bright red, you'd need to back that with a white, whether it's calcium carbonate or titanium. Or you could shell with white chocolate, which would give you a bright red. If you want a dark red, you'd spray a red. Our Rari red, if you spray that and then back with dark chocolate, you get kind of really deep burgundy. If you don't want to do that, you can pick something like Maroon Machine and spray that, which is a real kind of dark plum red. I think I've answered that. Don't know. If I was right, let me know. Dibs on the cake. Seren's promising stuff that we can't deliver.
Wow.
Wow.
Just
well, you know that she's going to be our sales director at some point, don't you? She better not go around the world start offering stuff like with discount.
She's going to be a sales girl.
Absolutely. We're all going to be working like dogs, and Sarah's going to be like, have a discount. I will put a curve on that quite quickly.
Yeah,
so,
let's hope.
Yeah, VD, so H&O 7000. Yeah, send me a message and I'll try and answer that one. So, I'd be happy with a lovely card hand drawn with my next order. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? It'd be nice if you girls did some hand drawn thank yous. That's nice. You know, it's funny. I'm going back to the websites. So we were talking about the shipping and how we do that, and then an individual saying, you can do it this way, you can do it that way, you can make it individual, you know, you can do this, and it would speed up this. And I don't find, once we get all the orders, every single order is different. Some of it's 4 bottles, some of it's 10 bottles, some of it's 25 bottles, some of it's 1 bottle, some it's 1 luster dust. Some we send samples to, some request bits and pieces. I think that I've looked after a lot of people in terms of, just pass me a sample down. We give, here's an example of the samples, right? Which I'm sure many of you have had. They're kind of around 40-50 grams. I know there is a company in this UK that sells a Canadian product and they charge £15 for a 56 gram. I think you know the brand I'm talking about. We can give those away, right, because it's overrun. And I was talking to the person that's doing the website. We were talking about the shipping, and it's like, we can automate everything. And I was like, I don't want to automate it. Do you know why? Because I like looking at every single order and saying, can you put that sample in because I think they'd like that? Could you put this in because I think they'd like that? We write thank yous on the invoices. We do all sorts of things because it's really important that we're in touch with customers, which is why I'm sat here on a Friday night. The majority of you are customers of what we make, as well as being Chocy Chat. So it's all well and good, like, with the website, it's like you can select this and this and this, but it got to a point where it's like, I don't want you to automate it because I want to be able to make a handwritten note. I don't want it to print off an address which I just slap on the box. There's so many other things that I like doing with the individual orders. So yeah, kind of drew the line there. It's like, no, I don't want you to automate it. And then the other thing was like sending it out to fulfillment, and it's like, no, I don't, no, not yet, certainly not there yet. And I think at the point, if we started putting this into fulfillment, I just lose touch with everybody, and that was never the business plan. The business plan has always been treat customers like their friends, and then those friends treat us like a fantastic business. And it goes round like that, doesn't it? Community is more important than competition. And I think for all of you that are, tough times doing chocolate at the minute with the prices and the fluctuations and the difficulties, you have to remain in touch with your customers and keep them up to date with what's going on, because if you're not, you can lose them so quickly, right? Chocy Chat crew stickers still have pride of place in my kitchen. Make a note, Salma. We need stickers. We need redesigned stickers. Chocy Chat. Maybe we need to.
In red.
Maybe, yeah, write that in big capitals in red. Oh, can I show you what pen Salma's got?
This is my favourite pen.
This, for anybody that's Generation X, please tell me you remember these pens, right? You were the coolest kid at school. If you had a Casio watch, or you had a ruler that had a calculator in it, or you had a multicoloured pen, you were the cool kid. right? It wasn't Xboxes, it wasn't iPhones, it wasn't any of that, right? That's what made you cool, right? And then the teacher used to take it off you. Tell me I'm wrong. Sam was going to make a note there. Chocky Chat Crew stickers. Susie Floozy, how are you? Tart of chocolate, I am good, thank you.
This is something Sophia was called for at school. This thing, it has, it's broken now, but a calculator over here.
Yeah, have you?
A sharpener.
I know, but this is a modern day thing, right?
Oh yeah, is it?
When I was at school, you were a cool kid if you had the multicoloured pen. Right?
I really liked these ones, but with way more colours.
Right, the teacher would red pen your thing. You'd write in red and go, right, so how are you going to mark my page now, so? I'm just scrolling to see if there's any Jewel Chocolatier. I'm good, thank you. I'm just scrolling through to see if there's any Dolce Mara down there in Johannesburg, I think. I'm really good. How is the neon blue going? Are there plans to continue that line in a different colour if they're titanium free? The blue's on its way, just bear with me, right? The new blue is on its way. Is it titanium? It is titanium free, that one. It's your customer interaction that keeps the chocolate world such a special place for us all. Thank you for inspiring and leading with such a loyal and honest touch. I don't think it's me. I don't think it's me. I'm humbled by the messages I get. I'm just doing my own thing, right? And always have as I've shared. I've had a phenomenal career and worked for royalty. And it never bothered me that I was cooking for a queen one day, or feeding the staff, or looking after the gardeners, and then nipping over the road to do a cocktail party for what was then Prince Charles, or something for the King of Thailand, or working for A-list celebrities. You know, I worked for Ringo Starr and Eric Clapton, and they're quite, you know, A-listers, right? And I was never ever, I just always remained humble and just kind of keep that ego in check. I don't think it's me that we created this, and what I know has come out of Chocky Chat is everybody else has networked with each other and everybody else is sharing resources. And I know that if you go on the page and say, anybody got a recipe for this? Like instantly it's there. So everybody is helping everybody else, and they're the wonderful characters that are part of Chocky Chat, and that's what's made it so good. So my leadership was only saying, be nice to people, hugely important. Be respectful, and just be a nice human being. Be nice to each other. That's it. If the world could learn a lot from just being nice to each other and understanding that just because somebody else doesn't know this technique doesn't make them stupid. It just means maybe they've forgotten it, or they've never done it before, or it's never crossed their path. And we all need reminding. I made something this week. Oh, we were roasting the nuts.
I was excited. If you
we were roasting the nuts. All that bit of fluff is that came up then. We were roasting the nuts, and I said we always cook them at 150. What happens if we do them at 150 for 1 hour? What would happen if I roasted them at 140 and we did them for 1 hour and 10 minutes, right? So 70 minutes. And what happens is we got a much nicer roasted nut, and when we've made the hazelnut with it, it's an even deeper taste profile to it. So I think we're right on the cusp of any much longer, but that was a lesson learned this week. I like lessons like that. Just because we've done it this way for so long doesn't mean that's set in stone, right? Thank you, Paula. I'd like to order cab from you, but our weather has turned warm already, 31 degrees. Will the cocoa butter arrive here okay in warm weather? Not a major problem. We've had stuff sent to Arizona where it's been 104 Fahrenheit, or stuff that went to Chicago last summer that, you know, is kind of 35, 36. So we do. They're quite stable. Even stuff that we send to Saudi Arabia or to Kuwait just seems to get there. But the reality is that they're sealed up, and you would need to melt them anyway when you come to use them. So yes, they are fully tempered, but if they do melt, they're sealed, but then you'd need to melt them down again anyway, and it's highly unlikely you'd melt that all the way to the core. Yeah, no problem. We sent to hot climates, never had an issue. What, I'm getting ganged up on here today.
I have something to show.
Love these pens.
It took an hour.
You were only cool if you... Oh, look, hang on. Grange Chocolates, I still use those pens. Oh, God, the memories just came flooding back. Love those pens. Everybody's loved those pens, love those pens. See, reminiscing, right? Saw the Casio watches in the store the other day. And then Nadia said, sorry, my leg. Nadia, we're talking about Casio watches. These pens... Give me a second, Chili Pup. You weren't cool if you didn't have one of those pens.
Can I just ask, what shop was that you
Salma
found?
wrote, we need stickers. Yes, we do. We need Chocky Chat. We need Chocky Chat stickers, right?
Can I say
But I really
Yeah.
hope you don't mind me asking, where did you
I
find the
made
Casio
this.
watch?
Seren made this.
No, it's not a regular card. It's a 3D card.
It's a 3D card.
If you look,
It's 3D, look.
3D.
She made a 3D card. You didn't give that to me, though. Who did you give that to?
Everyone in
You
the
gave
family.
it to Mama. Everybody.
By the way, a tip.
A tip.
If anyone makes something for the family, if somebody makes it for the family, it's not for the family, it's for the home and the family.
Absolutely.
It's for
We have
the
one rule.
home.
It belongs to the home. Doesn't matter it doesn't matter how hard somebody works. Doesn't matter who loads the dishwasher. It doesn't matter who cleans up. Who does more than the other. Everything belongs to the home. Seren's eating hazelnuts, so they belong to the home.
Yeah.
If everything belongs to the home, it's all fair and square, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The home comes first, right? It's a good rule, that.
Definitely.
Mrs. So Sassy does so much more work than me, and but yeah, everything we earn, it belongs to the home, and those bills go out there first. So, Emma saying, absolutely appreciate your extra put in my last order. I knew you had selected some colours that match with my order. Did not go notice. Oh, Emma, you're welcome. Nadia, I'm really good, thank you. I think Mrs. So Sassy had a chat with Nadia the other week. We were talking about negotiating and pricing, and it's a tough one if you're in a local market and people are like, well, these are the prices. Never lower your prices to win a customer, right? Just stick to your guns, because we're making quite exclusive products. When we make chocolates, they are a bespoke product. That's not. They're a bespoke products that you can't go and get in a store. So never lower your prices to win a customer. I just never ever do that. Don't try and avoid doing that. You can do discounts. You can do incentives, but I'd never specifically lower my prices to win a customer. Never, ever, ever, ever. This is the price. That's what they cost. Stick to it, right? Would there be any other luster dust? No, I know we were looking at a green. We were looking at a green luster dust. What I didn't like is it had an inclusion of colour. The luster dusts that we do are absolutely pure. There are no additives in it. I've seen blue luster dusts, and they've got colouring in them. And the challenge of that is that when the people get the chocolate, they end up with the colour all over their hands. Not a route that I want to go down. There are some very, very cheap metallics available, but they're such huge pieces and you can kind of detect them, and I know when I looked at that, it's not something I like. We use a very fine micron size, and we have what they're called fillers, so there's no flour in them, there is no rice flour in them, there is no fillers to bulk it up. So the green that we looked at, yes, it was the right colour, but it was the wrong additive, and it's just not a route that I wanted to go down, right?
We already get the sparkles of the luster dust everywhere. Probably
Yeah,
not the colour.
I don't want that all over the shop show. How do you make orange ash? Interesting one. If we take, so we have so we cook at home a lot, and we have the oven on and off all the time, right? So all I would do is we'll put orange and lemons onto a metal tray. Don't put it onto tin foil. Don't put it on aluminium foil. I should say aluminium. Don't put it on aluminium foil, because it will just take on that flavour, right? When an acid gets onto aluminium, it gives off a flavour note. It's not particularly nice. we'll put them onto a stainless steel tray or a baking tray, and they'll go in the bottom of the oven. And as we use the oven and it goes on and off, and it kind of normally takes 4 or 5 days. With that temperature going up, what happens is those oranges or the lemons or the citrus fruits, limes work as well, they slowly dehydrate and all the water gets driven off, and eventually they completely desiccate so that they are just a black rock hard lump, but they're really, really light, and they will just crumble in your fingers. We will powder that, then we'll sieve it. The flavour of orange and lemon and citrus fruits is in the skin. So the acidity is in the juice, but the flavour is in the skin, and it's in the form of an oil. So that when we dehydrate that, we get this kind of blackened citrus fruit. When we powder it, all that oil's still in there. And when you powder it down, you can feel how kind of, I want to say moisture, but it's not, it's oil. When you rub it in your fingers, but it's really, really, really strong. So it's just a case of drying out oranges long enough, but you need to do it as the whole fruit. If you cut them down, they don't dry out and desiccate quite so well. We have tried doing it, cutting it into wedges and placing them face down or curved up. Wasn't anywhere the same, but as I said, where we're cooking on and off, you turn the oven on, you cook what you need, maybe it's an hour, and then when you turn the oven off and it's cooling down, that residual heat that's in the oven is what's actually desiccating it, and it's that up and down heat, right? And eventually you end up with this. But I do like, it's not a new thing either, it's ancient, right? We have black limes in the Middle East. They're rock hard, and they'll put them in the inside. Once they're rehydrated and they go into stocks and sauces and they go into kind of wet dishes, you can then cut them out and scoop out the middle, but it's proper. We had some in Bahrain, didn't we? It's proper, like, God, makes your eyes water a little bit. It's nice. And I think where we put them, where we'd use orange ash in a caramel or lemon ash in a caramel, it gives it a really massive shot of lemon or orange. Also, you get these little speckles that kind of look a little bit like vanilla, which is, yeah, it's kind of double hit. Yeah, the jeweled cocoa bean saying there, I ordered butters in the summer. I think you're in Canada, 32 with no issues. I've not, in 3 years, nobody's ever come back to me to say my butter's completely melted in postage. So, and we've sent to some pretty warm places. So, no, Linda, good question. So if I've got if I roasted nuts and I've got leftovers, do I need to roast them again when I want to use them again? No, you don't, because if you try and roast them again, you're probably going to burn, you're going to scorch the outside of it, and you get like kind of black bits in it. So that's the husk on the outside. But if we try roasting it again, they're very, very dry. We've literally driven off all the moisture from inside the nut. What I would do is put them into a Ziploc bag, or put them into, these will go into backpack bags shortly. Once we finish tonight, we'll put those in backpack bags. If I was going to use some of those as a filling, for anybody that's on the subscription, there is, for the subscribers, I did a video of how we would sand these and how we would caramelize them and how I would then use those as a filling just to add a little bit more crunch. It depends really what you're doing with them. If I was going to turn that back into a puree, into a nut paste, I would just powder those down and get them roasted, because I've got the flavour from the cooking. I just need to make sure that we've got no moisture in there. I want the minimum moisture that I can get away with, and ideally it needs to be less than 1%. So an hour and 10 minutes at 140 degrees, these roasted perfectly, and there's just zero moisture in there. We weighed them when they went in and we weighed them when they came out, and we lost 27 grams of moisture off a kilo of nuts, which is quite significant. So depends what you're doing with them. No, there's no new colours of Luster Dust. There's a new blue coming out, a neon blue. I've done the testing. We've done all the analysis. I'm waiting on one report coming back, and then I can launch that, right? So we don't just throw some colours together and launch that. There's a whole process that goes on behind it in terms of batch coding, and then the product analysis, and then categorising what colours went into it, so that we can lodge that with regulators, so that when we're inspected we can go this and this, and it's all above board, and it ties in with ISO 22000 and all the other bits and pieces that we do. So tangerines work, yes they do. Tangerines are much more liquid, so, and they will dry much smaller, but yeah, without a doubt. I think tangerines and clementines they've got a very different, I tell you what doesn't work: grapefruit. Don't try and dry grapefruit and powder that. It is not pleasant at all. It is so acidic. The powder that comes off it is so acidic, it's just not palatable. But tangerines, clementines, the satsumas, they all work. Lemons work. Make sure you give them a really good wash if they're waxed under warm water. Get all the wax off. But you're better off just finding very good oranges. You want bitter oranges, or just very good lemons. I wouldn't just grab the net of something. I'd be very specific, because that, once you've made that orange or lemon dust, you store it for quite some time, so you just want to get the best ingredient that you can, right? For everything. How would I make my own lemon puree to make a ganache or pâte de frite? Laura's Chocolates. A couple of things you can do there. If you wanted to make a lemon puree or an orange puree, exactly the same process. I think I've shared this before. This goes back to the days of kitchens. We'd have big pans, right? We'd have big pans, and we would do 50-50 sugar to water. Okay, so we're going to make it what's called a simple stock syrup. Okay, so a simple syrup. Kilo of water, kilo of sugar, depending on how much puree you're going to make. And into that I would probably sit, once that's gone cold, I would put in like 6 lemons, 4 or 5 oranges, put a cartouche on top, which is if you get some greaseproof paper, you want to sit that on top. You screw it all up, put greaseproof paper on top so it sits flat, and then we're just going to poach those, and we're going to poach them just over a low heat, a couple of hours if you need to, on the lowest heat setting, till those oranges or lemons go completely soft. Absolutely. If you put a knife in them, the knife comes out. There's no give. There's no friction, right? So they're completely. But you don't want to break them down. We take the little nib off that end of that orange, and then just sit them in there. Don't poke holes in it. Just let them sit and let them bubble. I think the key thing with citrus is you want both. You want the blend of both. And what I mean is, if we then took that whole cooked orange or lemon and we put that in a blender, we put that into a blender and we blend it, skin, pips, seeds, absolutely everything, and then we use a little bit of the stock syrup as well to thin that down, what you'll end up with is an orange puree that's really balanced, because you've got the skin and the oils from the outside, and you've also got all the acidity of the juice that's in the middle, and then the stock syrup, which is the sweetener. What it will do is give you a really well balanced, and then we would put all that through a sieve, so that will give you without a doubt the best puree, because you're using the whole fruit. The juice, if you wanted the juice of the fruit, you will squeeze the juice and get rid of the pith, the fibre, the cellulose. Okay, if you wanted the puree of it, you want the whole fruit, right? So it goes into a stock syrup, equal amount sugar and water. Put the fruit in there, make sure it's all washed. If they're waxed lemons or oranges, give them a really good scrub under warm water to get any of that wax off. I don't think you should be using waxed lemons anyway, or oranges. Be specific of the one. Cook the whole thing and then take that out and puree it. Pips, seeds, everything. They're very delicate. Put that in and blend the whole thing, and you'll find such a balanced flavour. It's really exceptional. I know years ago I was talking to chefs and they're like, I don't know why you do that. And when they made one with juice and zest and then made a puree, and then we tried the one that we made, they're like, they are worlds apart. It's a neat little trick. It's freezable, but then you can go on and use it to make pâte de frite, right? So that's one way. Alice said double desserts. I'm good, thank you. Send some waves out there. Dach chocolates. I lately started using coloured cocoa butter, but does it have to be good quality polycarbonate mould to use, or can I use cheap ones? I would never use cheap. I'd never use cheap moulds. However, the difference between using polycarbonate and using like a cheap plastic is that when we want to do this, these are polycarbonate. These are the moulds that Sophia. If you buy the cheap plastic mould, at the point that you tap, you will shatter all of it. It will break, it will chip, it will break every single time. Whereas polycarbonate has got a little bit of flex in it. It's got a little bit of flex in it, and enough so that if you drop them, tap them, they don't break. They've got a little bit of give in them, and they're much more hard wearing than plastic. Okay, you'll get the same shine. You'll get the same shine. You'll get the same, you know, using a cheap plastic mold. They will retract, but what you will find is that those plastic molds will degrade very quickly the more you use them. Whereas polycarbonate, much more tensile strength to it, a bit more forgiving if you chip them, drop them, tap them, break them, you know, bend them, flex them. You get a much longer shelf life of the mold. And I think that polycarbonate doesn't scratch as quite as easily as like a polyurethane plastic type mold. I know Amazon sell the cheap molds, and I think you can get some from China, but I've got some because we used to do little 7-gram samples, and the edges of those molds are destroyed. They are chipped everywhere, and I don't really want to use a mold that's got chips in it, because there's a danger that it could end up in the chocolate, and if it ends up in the chocolate, a customer's going to get it, and that's just a no-no, right? Save your money. But you know, some of my molds are 4 or 5 years old, right? I'm still using them, and they make super duper chocolates, no issues whatsoever. The plastic molds that we bought that were 7-gram size bonbons that we gave out as tasters when we do some of the workshops and some of the talks. Those molds, you know, we've had to replace those 3 or 4 times because they just break apart, and it doesn't matter how lightly I tap. Still get shiny chocolates, still good, but not as well made. Between the wheelie tempering machine and the EzTemper, which one is best? Without a doubt, I would go with EzTemper. I'm going to try and get hold of Julie. I haven't sent her a message. I'm going to try and get hold of Julia to come and have a chat about EzTemper. Because lots of people aren't familiar with it, although it's been around many years. Wheelie machines, the challenge you have with wheelie machines is you still need to seed. Okay, so for the people that have wheelie machines, you know, they can be a little bit messy. But essentially it's a melting bowl, and it will melt that chocolate up to 45, and then you drop the temperature down to kind of 32, and you have to add seed to it and let it run, and eventually it will self-seed. Okay, the challenge is that they're both very differently priced. I don't think you'll find a cheap wheelie, but you'd still need to seed, so you still need good chocolate to put into that wheelie machine. I think the challenge. I think the difference between EzTemper, it's hard to compare the two. If the hardest job I have is just melting chocolate, which is not difficult at all. It doesn't matter that volume. It doesn't matter how I've melted it, to what temperature I've melted it. We can you know, you can wrap it in a bowl and leave it in the sun, and you can melt chocolate, right? And if it melts to 34, the point that it reaches 34 degrees, we can add the silk to it from the EzTemper, and we can temper. But I can also temper my fillings with the EzTemper, with the silk. I can also temper my colours. So it has multi-uses, whereas the wheelie, it's only going to be for chocolate. So my recommendation is, well, like for the people that use the EzTemper, and I know there are quite a few now in Chocky Chat, I've no invested interest in selling that. There's no kickback to me. That's not how I make money. I recognise that, you know, if I was going to start at the beginning again, that would have been the first purchase, a big melting tank and the EzTemper, because it will do my cocoa butter. I will temper the fillings. When Sophia made these yesterday, we got the hazelnut praline, or no, ganduja, we got that down to 33 degrees. We whisked in the silk and we piped it, and within 15 minutes we were capping. So it's the same with ganache. If the filling's got cocoa butter in, or the filling's got chocolate in, which has got cocoa butter in, we've got an opportunity to temper it. This is why I put chocolate in caramel, because it gives you an opportunity to temper it with silk, so that I can speed up how quickly it crystallizes, so that I can cap them and get them out of the mold faster and into boxes where they're protected and we can make more. Hard to say which one, you know, which one is better, because they're two very different products. But as I said, if I was going to start again, and I think there's many chocolatiers would say the same thing, if they were going to start again, EzTemper or an incubator, whether that's Magic Temper, Kadzama, or this one. There's a couple other new ones on the market as well. I'd go with an incubator first, because it gives you so much more usage than just being a chocolate melter with a wheel that goes round, right? So how to botch chocolate to avoid during transportation to avoid it from melting. Ice packs, 24-hour postage. Gosh, just putting it, you know, insulated boxes with ice packs. So whether they are CO2 or whether they are dry ice or something else, right? You know, water-based freezer packs. If you're using water-based freezer packs, just make sure the chocolates are protected from leakage of water, right? But post it, you know, 24 hours. I know certainly everywhere we go in the Middle East, you know, I was talking to somebody in Kuwait, everybody there has got an ice pack or an ice box in the back of their car, because when they buy things, it goes into, they just have an ice box in the back of their car, and they go shopping, the stuff goes into the ice box and they drive home, because when it's 45, 46, 48 degrees outside, you know, you can't just drive with something, it's blisteringly hot. So if you're transporting it long distance, it's going to be longer than that. That is a real challenge, and it's going to be the carbon dioxide packs, dry ice. Some carriers will take that, some won't, and that's the research you're going to have to make yourself based on where you are. So can you use orange ash and gandulia? Yeah, you can put it into everything. It's dry product, there's no moisture to it at all, so it's only like a spice. It's only like using, well, it is a spice, right? Because if you think about orange ash or lemon ash, it's no different to pepper. Pepper is a berry which they then roast and dry, and you get this tiny little rock hard ball, and it goes in the mill and you grate it. There are cultures that have been doing this for centuries, thousands of years. We dry the fruits, particularly citrus. And if you've ever tasted, I have, raw pepper, it's very citrusy, very zesty, with a lot of oils in it. So when it dries, it's absolutely ideal, which is why pepper's so nice. You can put it in, you treat it like a spice or treat it like a seasoning, so it can go into ganaches, it can go into caramels, it can go into gandouillas, it can go into patnafuits if you wanted to fold it in. Treat it like a spice. But it's nice to, I don't have any here, I'm going to make some. I'll make some. Maybe I'll just document those steps over the kind of 7 days while we do it. It's nice to have that in your armoury, and we add it to an orange caramel, and it takes, we put orange zests in the caramel, but we'll do the lemon ash, and I swear it takes it from being like an 8/9 out of 10 to a 12 out of 10. Just one of those flavour enhancers, and natural flavour enhancers that's just worth having in a jar on your shelf as part of your inventory. That's relatively cheap and quite a clean label as well, right? The copper luster is great for panning. I think you like that. Right, where are we? Just bought my EzTemper a few weeks ago. It's life changing. Yeah, caramel and creams. It is. It is absolutely. When using silk to temper the cocoa butter, do I risk diluting it too much? I usually have cocoa butter left. No, I like if I'm doing big amounts. If we're doing like I've got to make cricket balls this weekend, and we'll probably, I wouldn't put silk into cocoa butter unless it was more than 100 grams, right? If I'm doing that size, then I know that I can go with 2.8 grams, right? So 1%. And we'll empty some out. Put the silk in at 33. We'll empty some of this out. And when it's at 33 degrees, we'll put the silk in, give it a really good shake to blend it, and then top it back up, and then just give it a really good shake. The reason we empty some out is so that we can get some movement in the bowl. Less than 100 grams I don't really use. I will temper over water. what I will tell you though is if you're going to put silk into cocoa butter, put it in when it's at 33, but you can use that cocoa butter at a much warmer temperature. I know that you can use ours down at 26 degrees, and 26, 27 degrees, and I recommend that, particularly for the type C's. Using them at a lower temperature gets a much better effect. I don't know about other brands. I think you're going to have to warm them up, because at 26 they're kind of solid. It's not going to dilute it, because the amount that you're using, you're spraying, and any that's left over, I'd expect it to be a minimal amount. Again, if you're going to spray 10 moulds, why would you temper a huge bottle, right? You wouldn't. You'd tip it into a small container and temper. We have these. That's a soft pink from earlier in the week that Sophia diluted down again because she wanted it much lighter. But if I'm only going to spray 4 or 5 moulds, I'll probably only melt 30 or 40 grams. No reason to do any more, right? And trying to temper 30 or 40 grams with silk, you need some very accurate scales, because if you put too much silk in there, then you are going to dilute it down, right? So 1%'s more than enough. So there you go. Chef Melissa Root is saying, you know, chocolate expert, right? She's saying definitely easy temper over wheelie for sure, right? And I think lots of cheeky chocolatiers would agree, without a doubt. What oven temperature would you use for the ash fruits for 5 hours? I wouldn't do the ash. I wouldn't do it for 5 hours. What you're trying to do is you're not trying to roast it. You're trying to dry it. What makes it go black is the sugars that are in fruit is fructose, right? So in meats it's maltose, in milks it's lactose, and it's a protein essentially that's in the sugar. That's what denatures and turns it black. So citrus fruits have got a good amount of water and ascorbic acid or citric acid and natural fructose, but not glucose generally. What turns them black is that low temperature over a long time. I wouldn't be trying to roast it for 5 hours. What I'd be doing is put it in the oven, and as I turn the oven on and off, take your time, low and slow. Eventually it will dry. I mean, for the first 2 days nothing happens at all, right? We might turn the oven on, turn it up to 180, turn it on for 30 minutes, and then just turn that oven off. And I know that sounds like it's wasteful, but it is going to give me 100+ grams of a flavour ingredient that's kind of just worth holding on to. It's not really a time. You just have to check it through. It depends how much you cook at home. We don't eat out because we can cook better at home. If I showed you what we did for lunch today and then you saw what we did for dinner, you'd be like, you guys live like kings. We make better foods than Michelin star restaurants can, but I got the background. We did a smoked chicken, broccoli, risotto, and pesto, and we made the pesto. Sophia made a huge jar of pesto, right? That was lunch, and then we did like grilled chicken Caesar for tonight, and it's just rather nice. But we made the dressing and the croutons, and the only thing that we actually bought was the cheese, the chicken, and the we even made the bread. That's what we like doing, right? Low and slow. Let me just. Orders coming through. Can you use the dehydrator to make the citrus ash? I tried it and it didn't quite get up to a high enough temperature. There's something called the Maillard effect. The Maillard effect is where sugars break down with proteins, right? And that's what causes caramelization. Heat will cause caramelization in the form of carbon, so that's a very different thing. Maillard effect is where we get sugars and acids and proteins, and they break down, and it causes caramelization. And essentially what we're doing is we just need to get above 84 degrees, and dehydrators aren't very good at that. Once we get above 84, it's actually 87 degrees if I think back. Maillard effect doesn't really take effect until 87 degrees. Not hugely important for chocolatiers, but like if you wanted to caramelize chocolate, you're going to need to be above 87 degrees. And if you wanted to dry the fruits to get that rock hard desiccated, essentially it's a shell where all the water's been driven off and what's left is the fibre and the oils in the outside of it. Then when you powder that down, I think Paul has made, there's a few people that have made it here. and I'm gutted that I don't have any, so I'm going to do some this week. When you open the jar of the lemon ash, you're like, that smells more of lemons than lemons do, right? And it's the same with the orange. You're like, whoa, that's really, really strong. It's been around in the Middle East and the Asian market for centuries. We're only just kind of discovering it now, right? What a shame. What an absolute shame. So I didn't use the dehydrator. It just didn't drive the temperature up again. And like I said, you need to get to 87 degrees for that Maillard effect to or the science of the Maillard effect to kind of start taking effect of what's happening with that. So what are we? We're 10 minutes over. It's 21:40 according to my clock. No, it's 41. I'm gonna get going. Thank you for some lovely questions tonight. I think Salma's written down everything. I did have Ribena with me because I love blackcurrant. I could live on blackcurrant. Absolutely adore it. What else have we got going on? I will keep you up to date with what's happening with the website because there may well be a change in like what you need to search for, but we will take care of all that. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of Chocky Chat. The next one is Easter. I think Easter and Mother's Day, still plenty of time to sell chocolates. Stay in touch with your customers. Keep posting. Even if you post every single day and you find that that's really boring, you don't hit all of your audience. Stories generally go to about 10% of your customers or your followers, okay? You've just got to, and when you post, you need to put a link and you need to put a hashtag so it takes it further, okay? Stay in touch with the customers, send emails out, you just got to keep working on getting your customers. I think there's plenty of opportunity. I think there's plenty of money out there of people that want to buy an incredible product. Keep it simple, keep it honest, keep it flavourful. Be nice to people, especially those closest to you, all right? World is just flexing its muscles. I will see you next Friday, which in the scope of things will be in about 4 minutes time. Who knows? Have an amazing week, Chocky Chat people. I will see you next week. Take care, everybody.